Hey everyone, welcome to the channel for another Escape from Tarkov video. In this one, I'm going to give you some tips that will help you make some serious cash while playing the newest map added to the game, Reserve, also frequently referred to as the military base. This map is by far the largest and most complex map in the game. It's loaded with scavs and dangerous areas that also make it pretty tricky to move around safely. You have to be careful, and you definitely need to bring some good equipment if you want to get out alive. But if you know where to look and can sneak yourself out of the map, you can seriously make a ton of cash and extract with crazy loot. To start off with, I'm going to talk about the extractions and some of the special conditions you'll need to meet to get out of the map. To start with, the main extractions in this map are the armored train and the bunker door, both of which are tricky, dangerous extractions, but don't require any special gear to use. The armored train comes into the train station during the last 20 minutes of the game usually, and you need to be on board as it leaves in order to extract with it. There's almost always a crazy firefight at the train station because players, the scav boss, and scav raiders all kind of flock there as it arrives. The bunker door is located near the train station, but you need to press a button over by the pawn buildings to open the door and be able to use the extraction. This sounds an extremely loud alarm which attracts a lot of attention, but it can be used as a decent extraction if you're quick about it. Just keep in mind the door only stays open for about 4 minutes or so each time someone pulls the lever. For the special extractions, you have 3 options. The sewer manhole is a pretty easy extraction to take, but you need to drop your backpack in order to use it, so it's more of an emergency exit when you're hurt and need to run away. The Scavlands extraction is really interesting, but I don't really see it as a viable option yet. You need to have a scav and PMC player together in order to use it, and I don't trust anyone to not just shoot me and take my loot. Both players do get a cool reward from fence if they use this one, but like I said, I feel it's tough if not impossible to convince people to team up and take the extraction. Finally, the cliff descent extraction is located behind the observatory and is in my opinion easily the best and most useful extraction on this map. However, it does require a lot of special conditions which can cost a lot of money to meet. First, you need a paracord, which can be found on scavs, in duffel bags, or on the flea market. And next, you need the Red Rebel ice pick melee weapon, which is the hard part for this one. The ice pick can be found mainly on the woods boss, Sturman, and you can loot it off of him if you're lucky after a kill. You can also find it in certain loot crates as an extremely rare drop, but I bought mine on the flea market for around 2 million rubles. This sounds like an insane investment, but trust me, you can make that back pretty quick off of just a few successful extractions with good loot drops. Finally, you just need to make sure you're wearing an armored tactical rig or no body armor at all in order to use this extraction. You can also put your body armor in your backpack if you have space. This extract is in a pretty nice, well covered and hidden area and lets you take a huge backpack as well as a large armored tactical rig out of the map, which you can easily fill with really valuable items. I definitely recommend making the investment to use this extraction if you want to play Reserve frequently. So with that out of the way, let's talk about some tips for making money on this map. First off, I'm going to talk about the 3 large residence and administration buildings which are a huge part of my loot run on this map. These buildings all have a chess pawn painted on the side, so they're being called the pawn buildings. Personally, I number them from 1 to 3 to set them apart, starting with the building at the tail end of the helicopter in the courtyard, which I call pawn 1, followed by pawn 2 and then pawn 3. There are a ton of keys for these buildings, and I'd highly recommend either buying them or looking on the wiki to see if they have spawn points. I just bought mine on the market, so I'm not really up to date on where they spawn on the map. For pawn 1, I picked up the RB Orb 1 and Orb 2 keys, which unlock 2 cage doors with armories, filing cabinets, and weapon boxes inside. These rooms are hit and miss sometimes, but you can find modded AKs on the racks and tons of loot in the filing cabinets if you search them. Also in this building, you'll find a huge amount of ammo boxes, food, and random loot scattered across each floor, so it is worth checking if you feel safe. The roof of this building is also well worth looting, as you can find military loot items on the green table and nice weapons and attachments inside the tent. Just don't hang around too long because you're an easy sniper target up here. Onto the Pawn 2 building. This one has quite a few locked doors which are well worth looting. The keys I have for this building are as follows: RBBK, RBTB, RB Orb 3, and RB OB. The RB, BK, and TB keys both open doors in the basement of this building. The BK key opens a marked room where I found multiple cases and an insane amount of nice weapons, including a pretty heavily modded SA-58 just sitting on the floor. The TB key opens a locked grate door right next to this marked room, which can spawn several weapon attachments and has 2 more weapon racks that can spawn AKs. Next, the Orb 3 key opens another locked grate door on the 2nd floor with another armory that contains more weapon racks, filing cabinets, and attachment spawns. There's also a room at each end of this floor with filing cabinets and weapon crates that are worth checking out as well. Finally, the OB key opens an office on the 3rd floor, which can spawn intelligence folders and other rare items on the desk and shelves, as well as a set of filing cabinets to loot. The roof of this building is also worth looting, as it can spawn SVDs under the sniper canopy and other loot on the tables spread across the roof. That's about it for the major spawns that I know of in this building, but it's a great one to loot, especially if you can hit the marked room in the basement. Onto the Pawn 3 building, which in my experience is almost always a dangerous place to go. Players seem to just love rushing here off spawn, and I can see why, because the loot in this building is pretty awesome. To start with, the keys I use in this building are the RBAK and RBAM keys. The RBAM key opens a door at the end of the hallway on the 1st floor, next to a message that's scratched into the wall. This room has several utility item spawns, toolboxes, and weapon part spawns. I've also found multiple military items here in one go, so it's pretty worth it to loot this little closet. The RBAK key opens a door just up the stairs from this one. However, you can jump into this room from the roof, and it's almost always looted by the time I get there because of this. It does have a lot of loot on the shelves though, so it's worth checking if you feel safe. Aside from these rooms, there's also a ton of military and technology loot spread around this building on the 2nd and 3rd floor in unlocked rooms, located mostly on the metal and wooden shelving units that you'll find around the rooms. Just take your time exploring and checking all of these shelves, and it's actually kind of crazy how many military items you can walk away with if you don't run into other players. So that's the quick and dirty version of where I go to loot in the pawn buildings. These buildings are pretty awesome for making a lot of cash, and I'm generally full up after just hitting these spots alone. Next, I want to talk about the tunnels underneath the map. These tunnels are easily one of the coolest features of the map in my opinion. They're creepy, they have a ton of atmosphere, and conveniently they're also loaded with loot. You can access the specific tunnels I'm talking about either up at the observatory or in the basement of the 1st pawn building. There's quite a few toolboxes spread around the tunnels which can spawn decent loot, and you're going to want to keep your eyes open for AKs propped against the wall as well. But the first area you really want to pay attention to is this open area with the server racks and the metal catwalk, which can land you some pretty good items if you search carefully. First, make sure you check all of the server racks for item spawns, and then head into the back utility room to look for intelligence folders and search the cabinets, computer, and a hidden little safe in this room. Next, walk back across the catwalk and head into this open door. Look for utility and electronics loot by the generator, and then head down the stairs, check the workbench for loot, and then go into the break room area where you can find a military loot spawn on the broken panel on the floor. The final hallway leading to the spiral staircase can spawn quite a few utility items and some weapons against the wall. At the bottom of the spiral stairs, it's definitely worth it to check these shelves for military items, and also these crates over here for weapon and attachment spawns. At the observatory end of the tunnels, when you come out of the door, you can easily loot the guard post on the right, as well as the server room through the back door of the observatory and the top dome for weapon and attachment spawns. To be honest, sometimes the tunnels have the best loot for me on this run, and you're generally pretty safe and secure down here as long as you listen for players and be careful. Finally, the last tip that I've come up with so far is that Reserve is one of the best maps to farm large numbers of scavs and hope for awesome loot drops in their pockets and backpacks. You can also get a nice bit of money by taking their weapons to sell, but mainly I'm after keys, key cards, and rare items in their bags. In my experience, the scavs on Reserve are really curious and quite aggressive, and there's generally a lot of them. Once you aggro them by making noise and killing some of their friends, they come for you hard and in large numbers. With that in mind, sometimes I'll just start making noise and shooting scavs from a building, and then just post up by the staircase on the second or third floor and wait for them to walk single file up the stairs into my bullets. During some games, I've killed over 20 scavs in a single building and looted multiple labs cards and other rare items just by continuing to aggro them, shooting more of their friends, and looting all their pockets. This can be risky, and I've definitely died while looting the piles of bodies on the staircase a few times, but it's also really fun and is a good way to farm experience for your PMC as well. I would recommend doing this in the Pawn 1 building because in my opinion it has the best view of the courtyard outside and is the only one that connects to the tunnels, which can be used as a good way to escape the insanity when you're done killing the scavs. On this note, I can't really recommend going after the scav boss on this map as a way to make easy money because in all honesty, every time I've seen him, I'm dead within 30 seconds. So my strategy to get them is still a little bit of a work in progress. Well, that pretty much wraps it up for these 3 tips on making money on Reserve. There's a big part of the map I haven't really explored too much, and tons of keys that I haven't even got a hold of yet, but these spots alone have been making me some serious money. Hopefully if you try out these spots, they work just as well for you, and if you have any personal favorite spots to loot on Reserve that I didn't mention in this video, I'd love to hear about them. I'll be streaming more of my progress in the 0.12 patch on Twitch at twitch.tv/jdogthewise, and it'd be great to have you drop by, so I'll leave a link for that down in the description. Thanks for checking out the video. As always, feel free to leave any comments, corrections, or suggestions down below. And until next time, stay safe in Tarkov City.